Hello everyone, and welcome to Linux Forensics here at Pen Tester Academy. In this video, we're going to look a little bit more at processes, and in particular, we're going to look at process maps and how you can dump a process's memory image to disk for some later analysis. And we'll also talk a little bit about finding some hidden processes. So let's start by making a process map. So as before, as a reminder, I have set up an alias. My alias is right here, so that I don't have to type this long command string every time. And I'll say VPA, and the command that I want in this case is Linux _ proc maps. And I'm just going to do it for one process. So I'll give it -p, process 3027, which was our rootkit. And we'll see the kind of output that I get. So here's my output. You can see that I have a process ID, and since I only specified one process ID, everything here will have that same process ID, and for each process it says what memory space is it using. So here I'm starting at the standard place, 4 followed by 5 zeros, and I have a little bit of RAM. It's read only and executable, which is fairly standard for Linux. And notice I have an inode associated with this process. And we've seen this inode before when we did our file system analysis, and we know that it's related to this rootkit. Then we have a read-only chunk of memory and a read-write chunk of memory. Now, one thing you'll notice about Linux is pretty smart about how it handles memory. So you don't often see read, write, execute permissions on memory because that's a bad thing. Then people can inject stuff into your processes. So here we have our heap for the process. It's stored here. And then we have some shared libraries. We have libc that is getting a little bit of RAM. Then there's some more stuff related to libc, and then we have things related to LD. Then we have a stack and another chunk. And that's pretty much that. So that shows you, again, a little bit about each process, what other things are involved, what files are involved, including their inodes, and what chunks of memory are being allocated and what are their permissions. I can also take a process and dump it to disk, which can be very useful if I want to analyze this malware later. If perhaps I didn't know what it was. We'll talk about that later in this course when we start talking about malware analysis. But for now, just to show you how does this go, what you can do is just run volatility and run the command Linux _ proc dump. Again, you want to give it a process, 3027, and then give it an output location, an output directory with either -D or --dir equals. And I'll just send this to my temp directory. It runs and it tells me, here it is. Here's what the process ID was. Here's the address. Again, the standard address. And here I have my output file. So if I were to run something like xxd on that file, I'll just pipe this to more. You'll see, sure enough, here's an ELF file, which is an executable Linux file format. Now, a lot of this other stuff here doesn't look like anything because XXD is not decoding the assembly for me. But if you page through this, you will see references to things like LD. Recall from our process map that this library was being used. And we also see some references to libc. So all of this is not surprising. This is a pretty short little program. That's all there is to that. You can also use a command called psxview, which will try to find hidden processes. So let's go ahead and give this one a shot. So we'll do a VPA Linux underscore psx view, pipe that to more, and here we have it. We have all of our processes. Are they in the list or not? Does it have a hash? And some other items as well. You'll notice that most everything is in the process list with a few exceptions. And those exceptions seem to be happening toward the end of my list. And it's telling me what's being run. Once again, I could take this command, I could pipe it to grep on 3027, and we can isolate just that one process and see what it tells me. And it tells me here's the process. In this case, it was in that list. It's not hidden somehow from the process list. All right, so we will see in future videos more things that you can do with the Linux plugins for volatility, but that's all for this video. As always, if you're enjoying these videos here at Pen Tester Academy, tell a friend. We'll see you soon.